Hello everybody and welcome back. As always, I am Mateo311 and this is your channel for everything VR related. Today, we're talking about the fact that Meta is currently burning billions of dollars on VR and they're not slowing down anytime soon. In fact, Meta's Reality Labs has already spent nearly $3 billion in the first quarter of 2022, while only earning a measly $700 million. I have to laugh because these numbers are just absolutely insane. Speaking of insane, we're also supposedly getting 4 new Meta headsets by 2024. So where is all of this money going? How can they afford this? And what does this mean for the future of XR technologies and some other aspects that are near and dear to my heart, like VR gaming? Well, we're going to break down all of this today, and there are of course links and timestamps in the description. But before we jump in, this video is brought to you by Kiwi Design. You know where Meta might be burning all that money? It's on broken Elite straps. Well, with Kiwi Design, you don't have to deal with that. This headset is durable, super comfy with the plush strap, and I highly recommend it. There are links down in the description, and don't forget to use discount code Mateo311 for 5% off and to help support this channel. Okay, so the first question is, why would a company invest billions and continue to operate in the red for multiple years? Well, for starters, Meta needs to branch out. They've completely tapped the potential of their social media platforms, and their continued practice of just buying up the competition is no longer viable. It's also got them some serious scrutiny from the Federal Trade Commission, which is investigating them for anti-competitive practices. So their only current option for growth is to be on the cutting edge of something new, and they're betting on the metaverse. Now, that's not exactly how their foray into VR started, but it's definitely where it's headed now. Meta not only wants to build the next compute platform, but they also want to be in control of how we communicate and access information in the future. Basically, they want to do with VR what Apple did for cell phones. The only problem is VR and the metaverse is a much more complex beast to handle, and it wasn't until years after they purchased Oculus did they begin to solidify the concept. Right now, Meta is looking to design a platform and ecosystem that ties into every aspect of your daily life. This includes productivity. They want to replace the laptop with some type of AR device, your physical fitness. Leaks have shown that they're working on a smartwatch, and they purchased the studio behind the fitness application Supernatural. Obviously, they're still involved in gaming and have also purchased multiple studios, and they have other devices like the Meta Portal, which is a viable communication option for those less technically inclined. So we could already begin to see the grand scheme of Meta and where a lot of this money is going, but let's break that down even further. Meta's first billions were spent back in 2014 when they acquired Oculus for the low price of $2 billion. Let's pour one out for Oculus. Rest in peace, buddy. Now, while there was a lot of hype around VR gaming, the cost of entry was quite high. You needed a PC that was at least $1,000, and that was before you spent a few hundred more on just the VR hardware itself. So even though there was a strong buzz around VR, it remained extremely niche. The minuscule market compounded issues as studios were not willing to invest large amounts of money into producing games. So Meta began funding studios to create bigger, more robust VR titles. The thought process of the time was VR gaming was not catching on because there were no console seller style titles like your traditional Halo, God of War, etc. Now, Meta did find some success in this space, and it did lead to some of my favorite VR titles like Asgard's Wrath and Lone Echo, but ultimately this wasn't enough to truly push the needle forward for VR. Even Valve, one of the biggest names in the gaming industry, pulled out their most iconic IP, Half-Life, and spent upwards of $75 million to produce Half-Life Alyx, only to bring roughly 1 million new VR gamers. So Meta redoubled their efforts into lowering the cost of entry for VR and producing a standalone device. Now, 3 generations later, and after selling tens of millions of units at a loss, they finally cracked it with the Quest 2. Now, between funding studios, purchasing studios, excessive amounts of research and development, and all of that hardware sold at a loss, they easily invested billions more into VR between 2014 and 2020. Now, rather than just sitting back with their successful hardware, the Quest 2, they set their sights on much grander endeavors. Now, for the most part, this is all of the hardware I previously discussed, but at the same time, Meta has a huge research and development budget. A lot of effort is going into their software, and their XR division is currently employing 17,000 people. So the next question is, why do they need all of this money and all of those people? Well, in order to make XR devices and the metaverse a possibility, they still need to solve a lot of existing problems. For starters, they need the device to be as efficient as possible. There are major trade-offs between weight, battery life, and performance. And these also bleed into the annoying human issues like how comfortable is the device to wear. You don't hear people complain that their cell phone or laptop is uncomfortable to use. And if you want to replace those devices with your AR equipment, well, they need to be at least as good and just as comfortable to use. And part of making that possible is brand new hardware and software solutions. We will need to shrink down our VR headsets to make them comfortable enough for all-day use. This requires the development of a brand new lens system. So basically, everything Meta is working on right now is cutting edge, which leads to extremely expensive research and development with plenty of dead ends. In fact, Mark Zuckerberg isn't expecting the fruition of this XR endeavor to be truly profitable until the 2030s. So Meta is just going to continue to burn billions for the next 10 years. So how can they pull this off? They have a ton of money, and even after taking a major hit, the company's still worth roughly $600 billion. And even with all the losses from their XR division, they still had record-breaking profits of $40 billion in 2021. Now, Valve has actually done something very similar in the past, just on a much smaller scale. They have a very successful business model and just used a small portion of their profits for research and development. Every once in a while, it led to products like the Steam Link or Valve controller, and they've just continued to use that knowledge for new products that has reinforced their core business. I'm obviously referring to the Steam Deck and software sales through the Steam platform. And while we're on the subject of new hardware supporting your existing platform, according to a report from The Information, Meta supposedly has 4 new headsets on the way by 2024. Now, we most likely know exactly what 2 of these headsets are. The first one is Project Cambria, which we will see later this year. This will be a more expensive headset targeted at enthusiasts and developers. You can expect a significantly higher price tag, and it will include some new bells and whistles, like full color AR pass-through, face and eye tracking, and a significantly slimmed down design. From a performance standpoint, it's still rocking the same hardware from the Quest 2, though it will most likely be more efficiently cooled, giving it better performance, might include additional RAM, and the overall form factor should be a lot more comfortable than the Quest 2. Basically, Project Cambria is the first attempt at replacing a laptop with a head-mounted display. Now, the next headset we're almost guaranteed to see in 2023 is the Quest 3. They're going to take everything they can from headsets like Project Cambria, determine what's the biggest bang for your buck, and include them in the Quest 3. Now, this will most likely be eye tracking, updated controllers which have their own tracking system built in, taking some of the performance load off the headset itself, some other quality of life improvements, and possibly the latest iteration of whatever Snapdragon processor is available. Now, the other 2 headsets are a bit of a question mark, but I wouldn't be surprised to see something like a Quest 3 Plus, which would be a version of the Quest 3 with some additional bells and whistles. And the 4th headset might not actually be a headset at all, but possibly the first generation of AR glasses. Now, what does this mean for what I still care about the most, gaming? Well, Meta isn't going to just turn their back on gaming. They've already purchased multiple studios. They recognize how successful porting older titles can be, and as the hardware improves, so will the quality of games. You can expect game development for the Quest 1 to stop by next year, and we'd most likely see the same for the Quest 2 around 2024 or 2025. But as we move into 2023, the platform for higher-end VR gaming will not be the Quest 2. PlayStation VR and even PC VR are going to make a strong resurgence. Sony's PlayStation 2 will deliver us some top-notch VR games, and Sony's already working to some degree with Valve, so you can expect titles like Half-Life Alyx on the PlayStation VR 2, and for PlayStation VR exclusives to eventually make their way onto Steam. The Quest 3 will close the VR game quality app a bit, and they will continue to have exclusive titles, but Meta won't really care about being the #1 gaming VR platform. They want to break into much more of the market, so they won't try and compete at that level. The most successful consoles usually only sell like 100 million units, and Meta has their heart set on getting these devices into the hands of a lot more people than just that. So to make sure that happens, they'll continue to burn billions of dollars for at least the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to be an exciting ride, and I can't wait to see what happens. Okay, everybody, that was today's new VR news. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. And as always, I will see you guys on next time.